Welcome to a new episode of Video of Business podcast. Today's guest is an agency owner and SEO specialist. He is now bridging the gap between traffic focused and SEO and CRO. Welcome to the podcast, Matthew.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. How did you get started in business?
I went to business school. That was a good start, but I graduated. I'm originally from Canada, and I grew up in a city called Windsor, Ontario, that's known for, we're basically an auto industry town. And I graduated in 2008, and that was the year that the auto industry crashed. So it was a very, very unfortunate time to kind of graduate. I majored in, I got my business degree, but I majored in business and marketing, and I did a minor in information technology because that was all that was available at the time. There was no digital marketing degree. So I learned websites and coding while I was learning the marketing and business side. But then I didn't use it. I worked at a bank for 7 years. I played in a band, which was really fun, but didn't get a lot of use out of it. And finally, we moved to California for my wife's job back in 2016. And I couldn't work as a Canadian. So I brushed back up on all of the changes that had happened since 2008, learned about WordPress, and I built my friend a website and for her business. And I noticed, despite the fact that, we built this really beautiful website, there was only marginally more people that were booking her calls because no one was finding her website. And so then I built her a Google listing. Then I learned how to optimize it. Then I learned how to optimize the website and blog. And, within 2 years, we took her from like side hustle making $500 a month to over six figures steady. And so that was the beginning of the business. And yeah, it's been just over 7 years. And yeah, never looked back.
It's a great time to get started around 2016 in the online business world.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really cool. I feel like most people didn't know what Google business listings were yet, which made it an easy target to kind of, start generating business for people and leads and coaching people on the importance of it. It's gotten much harder over time, but
less fortunate timing with graduating 2008.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but it all set me on the path to where I am. So got to be grateful for that.
Oh, I'm glad that was me.
Graduated the same time?
No, I never graduated. I dropped out. Yeah. I tried going to business school and taking entrepreneurship and economy in a business school, which was interesting because it was usually just economics with additional subjects from people who had never done business. So I dropped out after.
I can see that.
Yeah, after 5 months, I was like, nah, this is enough. So I just started the agency and learned by doing and watching YouTube.
And I think that YouTube University is the school that we should all learn from at this point. Yeah. Like really, as things have progressed, because like even most of the stuff I learned, other than, I learned HTML and CSS, which is helpful for when you need to edit a website. But most of those things, now, God, with ChatGPT, I can just ask it for it's much faster for me to feed the code problem I'm having in there and ask it for help with it. So yeah, I think the way that everything's going, I learned a lot more about what I do from the internet than I did in school.
Yeah, definitely. And also kind of I had interest in marketing as well, kind of the psychology of why we buy and why people pick certain brands and stuff. So I also, before starting, read about why people buy and how they buy. So it's kind of a natural progression for me.
Yeah, that is the most important part. I think in general, right? As long as you're interested in the subject matter and willing to learn, school is kind of like, unless you're becoming a doctor, like there's sometimes where, yeah, of course you're going to want to go to school. But yeah, I think business and marketing, there's enough resources out that you can definitely learn it all yourself. So
I would agree.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about this before the podcast started, and you also shared some info on email with me in terms of going through a shift in your business.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about what you're seeing and how you're changing your business?
Yeah, so I mean, we're really moving towards an e-commerce SEO focus and really like an e-commerce growth agency almost. One thing that, we're seeing, especially over time, is like local businesses have been burned by so many different agencies. It's getting harder and harder to get anyone's trust. And the opportunity to scale, depending on what type of business it is, like it really, and we also turn down a lot of people because if there's not going to be ROI for them, doesn't I don't want to take their money and have them spend on it. And for a lot of local businesses, for what we charge, because we're able to get results for clients that have much higher margins and higher ticket items, it doesn't make sense for a lot of them. And what I realized over time is we've kind of done SEO for everyone, but we've also we've had a much smaller percentage of e-commerce projects, but they've all gone so well. And part of the e-commerce projects that we usually do is they're more strategy focused. So instead of doing just traditional SEO, we work with the owners. In most cases, it's like medium size e-commerce brands that have some kind of proof of concept and they have sales. It's hard when we're starting at the ground up. We've done it, but it is a little bit harder. If they have the proof of sales, a lot of times doing basic optimizations to their email funnel and making sure that they have a welcome series, 3 to 5 emails that clearly engages somebody and explains the product benefits, asks for, just it gives the brand story, reminds them their coupon's going to expire. All of these little checkpoints, fix their abandoned cart. Same thing. We have checklists for these. Do like a browse abandonment. Most people don't have that set up. And then a post-purchase flow to try and encourage repeat purchases. When we do that and we combine it with SEO, and we A/B test the pop-up. So just making sure that the traffic we drive is then converting. It's something we can control a lot more. With local business, you can do that, and we do conversion rate optimization on the websites. But again, we have to then get the budget to also do that on top of it, and a lot of people don't have it. So it is a kind of an uphill battle, and I understand the price sensitivity for those clients. But we've really seen such big gains, and we have the exponential to scale. And so one thing we've been experimenting with is once we fix that foundational element to get people converting at a higher rate, we know that every visitor that hits the site is worth more. So we can drive SEO, and that is one way to do it, but we can also do paid ads. And so we've been experimenting with that to try and scale, and that's going really well. So yeah, we added a conversion rate optimization specialist to the team as well. That's like, I've always done it, but it's more of an intuitive thing for me. I'm not an expert. It's just, there's certain things you read the books, you watch YouTube. I'm sure we've probably watched a lot of the same stuff on it. And you pick up little tips and tricks, but this guy's been doing it for 7 years. And so can do the crazy egg tests and the heat maps and all the things that I normally don't dig into for the more intricate ones. And that was really the missing piece of the puzzle to get this together. And I think it's going to be cool to make it more of a niche product offering that's focused on growth. And
Yeah, and the local businesses or like service businesses also have another constraint in terms of how many leads they actually can sell to within a time. So usually in e-com, they don't have that. You can just sell and sell and sell, which is also where if you have a revenue share model on your end as well, it's exponential upside.
And that's what we're looking at, right? Because we know that we can get the results, and it's hard to convince someone on the local side. And we can't really do the revenue share part because operations is a very large struggle. We can add the leads, but if everything falls apart once we do that, they don't respond to the calls, no one's picking up. Like there's all these additional challenges that you can run into. So it's hard to assume, like you don't want to assume the risk, but then they don't have the budget, and it's not a good fit for, I think that the e-commerce is really the strongest fit for, our team's skill set and what we have to offer. And I'm excited to kind of go into it full force.
Yeah, and it seems like the founders and operators in e-com as well has more understanding of how important these things are, opposed to kind of local or service-based businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm even experimenting with, we'll see how it goes. we did an audit to try and see how much we could save somebody like that had an existing like large PPC budget. And we're like, we could save them like $4,000 just in their ad spend. And that's enough to cover the services. So what I'm hoping to fine tune this offer if we can target people that have that level of ad spend. And then if we can just save them the money on the ads,
Yeah.
that will pay for our service. It removes the entire risk portion for it. And I really think like that's where I would love to be, where we're providing so much value for people that it's hard for them to say no. It's kind of a no-brainer if we can achieve that.
Yeah, that's an interesting offer. And as well as running as a ad and a promotion as well, kind of we take X amount of your ad budget. That's I think that could work a lot.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like it worked the one time we tried it. We need to definitely test it more before we try and make those claims. But yeah, it would be really cool if we could get that to work.
In terms of driving like both traffic, but also let's go into CRO and kind of optimizing backend a bit later. But in terms of driving traffic, what's the best tips in terms of SEO?
Choosing your keywords wisely. I think that's the biggest thing, and making sure your speed is on point. I know that kind of dives into UX, but for e-commerce, that's definitely huge. It's a little less important for local because a lot of people have slow websites, but for e-com specifically, you really need a fast website because everyone you're competing against has it. And then from there, it's keyword choice, and really like just doing your basic, making sure that you're choosing a keyword that has volume. I think the main thing that we see is people shying away from using actual keywords. They want to name it like something really unique, really cool, edgy, but like you're not, and that's fine if you're going to run paid ads to it, but you can't run an SEO campaign and not use the words that you want to rank for. So really just making sure that you do your keyword research, trying to find the long tail keywords. They're usually easier to rank for. And just making sure that you choose the proper long tail keyword works really well. And then just your simple SEO check, put it in your title, your meta description, your alt text, and get some reviews, and hopefully they also use the keyword because it's your product name. And that honestly, it works pretty well. Building out obviously category pages is also huge for e-commerce. We have a client, Honey Clouds, that we've been working with, and this is, I guess, like a testament of how important the keyword research is. So we looked at and keyword research in SEMrush, but also just looking at what your own website's ranking for already in Google Search Console is so important, and so many people don't do it. And so one of the really cool things that we're able to do for her is we looked at, number one, just the search volume. She does bra inserts, and she has a patented trademark thing. It's a killer product. And I knew it was going to work as long as, we had the proper keywords and she let us do our thing. So we went to town on the keyword research, and we found people were searching, she just had the different shapes of bra inserts she had, but all of her inserts were waterproof.
Yeah.
Water resistant anyway. They're as waterproof as an insert can be. They're safe for bathing suits. Okay. And one of the highest bra insert search terms was swimsuit bra inserts. But she was like, well, all of ours are for swimsuits, so we don't talk about it. And like Google, it was in her search console data. Google's showing her for it, but 15th, 20th, because so we built a swimsuit inserts page, and we did this with a bunch of stuff like sports bra inserts. All of them can be used for sports bras, but we built pages and said which ones were specifically the best for it, and like how they fit in and different things. So it made sense to do these pages. And those pages are like just killing it. The swimsuit inserts page is the highest traffic and highest converting out of any of the pages on the website. And yeah, it's like we've 10x traffic, and traffic from organic, like just the organic sales alone are up 400%. And it's been less than 10 months.
Yeah, that's a good case study. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just wrapping up the finishing touches on it, so the numbers are fresh in my mind. But yeah, the keyword research for that, it was just that, right? We just needed to look at the keywords that people are searching and then optimize the site for them.
I think the Google Search Console, in terms of finding keywords to rank for, is a kind of a lost cause, or I don't think many people think of it as finding new keywords. It's
Yes.
just we go to SEMrush or Ahrefs or whatever tool you use.
Yep.
But yeah, it's there right in front of me. It's very, very interesting.
Especially when you are a website that's getting traffic. Obviously, if you're starting out, you don't have a ton of Search Console data, then yeah, you're going to need to use SEMrush. But I think that a lot of SEO companies, like in general, I think like a lot of SEO companies focus on blog content, which is important, but it's not the only thing. And especially for e-commerce, you have the opportunity to look at the product pages and see like what does Google want to show this page for?
Yeah.
And so you can get the keywords from like that's going to guide most of your decisions because Google's telling you already what it wants to rank you for, and you probably haven't even mentioned that variation of it. And the benefit that you have is everyone has the data that's in SEMrush. You are the only person that has your Google Search Console data, and it probably has some more specific long tail keywords that you can rank for that aren't in SEMrush. You know, everyone's going, they're doing the same filter. Let's look for the easy filter, highest volume. And a lot of times it's not accurate, right? Like it's relatively accurate. It's better than having
Yeah.
nothing. But Google Search Console really is when we're looking at optimizing an existing site, like we're going there for a lot of the
I
updates.
mean, I haven't, we've worked on like our main services, paid ads, Google and Meta, but we've done some SEO projects. I haven't really thought about doing that. I've looked at the searches, but it's like, yeah, these are the searches. I haven't taken them into the website or built content around them as well. So yeah, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We even have like a little filter in our Looker Studio report that searches for anything that has the word why, how, what,
Yeah.
and it'll pull that data from Search Console. So if somebody's asking a question that we haven't answered with a blog post and we're getting an impression for it, we'll get that pretty easily. So yeah, that's something that you can do too, is just doing those kind of like filtered searches in Search Console to try and a lot of times it will be something that you mentioned, but it's like you mentioned, just
Yeah,
like
it's
a
a just a byline. Yeah.
expand your content to include like an FAQ or something with it.
Yeah, we just launched the website for the new agency yesterday, and I'm like refreshing
Oh wow.
Google Console. There is no information so far. So, but yeah,
Congrats. That's huge.
thank you. I'm looking forward to working on the SEO for it and kind of figuring things out. And since it's our own website, we can try different things as well. Um, but yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah, I'm also working on a brand new website. That's the thing where it's so funny, you know, as a digital marketer, there's like a saying from back in the day, something like the cobbler's the only one with no shoes or something to that effect. And my website is
Yeah.
like the second website I ever built. I built the website for my friend and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a business now. And I built that website and we've just been so busy growing, servicing clients and focusing on that. Every time I have spare time, I get like a paragraph done of rewriting the content. And it's great. Like I'm barely updated it and I'm in the middle. And I had to actually hire a friend who's a web designer to help me design because I'm just never going to get it done. She's like keeping me like, we have deadlines and you need to do these things on the deadlines. And so we're getting through it. I'm supposed to launch mine in 60 days, but it is so much work, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I also hired a friend to do it. I've worked with him on other projects as well, so we have a good flow. But yeah, I couldn't have done it myself. Then it would be finished maybe next year.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that we chose to outsource.
Yeah.
And now it's just for me to get it ranking and of course getting in more leads.
Yep. Absolutely.
Um, in terms of AI, how is it affecting your business and SEO in general?
Um, well, I think yeah, there's definitely positives and negatives to it. So it's able to help us accelerate our workflow pretty substantially. Um, like we use it for a lot of different stuff. Um, the most obvious thing everyone's using it for is article writing, but there's so much that you can do with it. Like data analysis, I feel like is probably the least talked about part of what as a marketing company, you use AI for, and it's definitely the best use of
Yeah.
it. So we use it a lot for that, right? You know, I'm talking about, oh, you have Google Search Console, you have SEMrush. There's a lot of data to sort through. So, you know, I have some custom prompts and stuff that I've worked out where we can take the Google Search Console data, download it. We can download the SEMrush keyword data. We can do keyword gaps and ask
Yeah.
it for the best opportunities. And obviously, like we're still looking at it with discerning eyes because we're the experts, but it can usually shortcut us to some really good, high value, high impact items. And I think that's the great part is it's able to allow us to do more for less. Um, but the dark side of that is that there's so many people that are undercutting the industry, being like, I'll do 50 blog posts for you. And like the blog posts that they're going to do with AI are very different than the ones that we're going to do. And yes, we're using it to help us write, but we're doing all the keyword research. We're building the outlines. We're analyzing the competitor sites. You know, there's the internal link, there's all the other parts of SEO. And I feel like kind of the unfortunate side effect of what's been happening is people are offering a lot of deliverables, which is a different thing than getting your site to rank. Okay. And so I think the big disconnect, we were kind of in the golden era where I was able to do my exact same SEO package for the same amount of money. And it took me half the time using AI to help us write. And that was great. And I knew it wasn't going to last. It was about 6 months,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden people are getting, you know, emails saying somebody can do 50 blog posts for the same price. Like there's also like, you know, I can try and explain to people Google's actually like having quality, like they have quality guidelines. And if you actually publish 50 spam posts that aren't of value, it brings your site down. It's not,
Yeah.
you know, 5 years ago, the more blog posts you put out, the better. It's
Yeah.
changed dramatically because of AI. And so I think there's like a lot of misinformation and it's changing so fast that people can't keep up with the information they're getting and who to trust. And I think that's kind of the dark side is people are going for, you know, more, thinking that that's the right move. And they want us to do more for less, which is also difficult. And why we're kind of making the shift into the e-commerce because everything can be more valuable. Because I get it. When people say that they want SEO, what they want is more sales. I have that on my intake form is like, what is your goal? What is your goal for a successful campaign 1 year from now? This can be either in site clicks, impressions, or sales. Do you think anyone has ever told me site clicks or impressions? They have not.
Yeah.
And a
And
lot of people have, there's the odd person who throws in both
yeah.
clicks. Who cares about impressions? No one's ever used that. But clicks and sales, maybe somebody will answer both, but I'd say 95% of people, they just have a sales goal in mind that they are expecting to hit by investing in the marketing. And I think with e-commerce, it's much easier for us to because sometimes the local ones want 10x sales for 1/10 of the budget of what it's going
Yeah.
to cost, right? It's a
Yeah.
misalignment. And I think with e-commerce, we're usually it's usually the expectation is fairly reasonable and we're able to actually exceed it. So
Yeah. It's funny because I had a chat today actually about data analytics and and AI. So in terms of we have installed Microsoft Clarity on more pages because
okay.
there is so much information and heat maps and whatever. Um, but it didn't occur to me that we can actually download the everything from Clarity into AI and get them to analyze it for us and bring out a report as well.
That's cool.
It's awesome. So in terms of like the way you are moving towards now, like getting those types of reports just through AI, it would
Yeah,
be very interesting, especially in terms of the CRO aspect as well.
yeah, that's great to know. I'm gonna have to check it with my CRO guy if he knows that. Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. That's a great use. And I really think that that's the future, right? If we could data analysis has always taken so long,
Yeah.
uh, and being able to shortcut that, I think the data-based companies are really going to be the ones that thrive. You know, with the
Yeah,
AI.
and I kind of it takes a long time if you're going to like communicate the analytics or analyze it for someone else, because like you said, it's a lot of intuition because you've done it for so long. So when like I go through Google Ads and see these keywords and the percentages and clicks and conversion rate and stuff, in my mind, this takes 2 seconds. But if I have to report this and communicate it to someone else, that takes a lot of time. So it's kind of on their end, we need to shorten the time spent. But this, yeah, it helps a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What's your marketing strategy for your own business?
So it's been pretty poor up until this point, if I'm being honest. It's the second podcast I've ever responded to say yes to. So, I'm trying to get myself out there. I finally started doing Instagram videos. I've always very much been of the thinking that if I just did the best job for all my clients, we'd keep spreading word of mouth, and I could focus on that, and I wouldn't have to spend any of the money or time on marketing my own business, and it would market itself. And it worked for a long time. But then recently, I think with all the challenges we've been talking about is I've continuously upgraded my skill set, and the employees have continuously upgraded their skill set. And I want to make sure that I'm able to pay them accordingly as well. And so I think it's time that I invest in the business and invest in the marketing. So, I've been trying to build the brand. We did finally start doing our own SEO and blogging. Because, if I ran us through SEMrush, I'd be like, well, I don't trust this. Why don't they have any traffic? It's a very fair, but I've just always focused on and doing it. I have the case studies. But really the best case study is your own website. It's the most competitive niche. So I was just like, I will just get the case studies from everyone else. But yeah, we've been doing that, getting good results. But I think what I'm really excited about is with the change into the e-commerce kind of platform, the thing that I've always been afraid to make the jump is, how am I going to find e-commerce clients? Because it's not going to be easy. So I'm working with an outbound leads company. You get probably 50 emails to your inbox a week about people who can help you scale your agency. I finally thought, you know what? I'm going to talk to 3 of them a month for a couple months and see what one actually has a good offer and what one I think I can trust to do this, because I know it works. I respond every once in a while to somebody who emails me, and that's all it takes is you just need to respond. Like, you need maybe 0.5% of people to respond. So that's what I'm working on right now, is actually doing kind of an outbound cold email campaign to people and crafting this offer. Whether or not we make the PPC, I would love to make that work, because I feel like it's just the best offer ever. If we can get it to work, it's a no-brainer. But I think either way, like, just perfecting an actual offer. I've been reading a lot of, I don't know if you've read the book yet, $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. So I'm 3/4 of the way through it. I'm going to probably listen to it another 3 times this month, because it's hitting me right at the right time. And yeah, just trying to craft the right offer for this email pitch, I think is going to be really important. And yeah, and like that's kind of the marketing strategy is use the outbound sales to really be able to niche into this thing that I feel so strongly and so passionate about, and change the way that we're doing it. So, we are maybe more like a performance-based marketing organization, because I know that we've done this multiple, like at least 7 times now with different e-commerce brands, all from like literally starting from the ground up to being pretty successful already and being able to double it. So I know that the opportunity is there. It's worked 100% of the time, because it's kind of just science. You fix your email flows, you do conversion rate optimization, and then you drive traffic and sales go up. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of, if I can get the outbound part going, that would be great. And then for the inbound, I just posted my first YouTube video last week. Awesome. So just trying to, thank you. I'm just trying to, let people know that we're able to do this, because I feel like we've just been our own best kept secret. I don't even have all of our up-to-date case studies on the website, but they're all coming on the new website. I typed out honey clouds just yesterday, got video testimonials. So I'm doing all the things that I've neglected thus far, because I've realized, at some point I focus really hard on building everybody else's brand and business. But I think it's probably pretty important to put the same care and effort into our own.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of building the brand long term as well, building
Yeah.
brand equity as well is gonna help a lot. And it's funny because it's often the marketing agencies that doesn't do their own marketing. It's so
Absolutely.
funny. Yeah.
Cobbler with no shoes. It's a real adage. Like it's I know so many friends that have marketing companies and they don't do any marketing. It's yeah.
Yeah, I've kept the philosophy since we started that we can't tell people to run ads if we don't run ads ourselves.
That's
Um, so even if it's like $2 a day, it's just we have some ads running all the time. Because I'm trying to stay true to it. I've also been kind of talking about posting more and more content since 2021. That's been harder to live up to because it takes a lot of effort. But yeah, we're trying.
yeah. It's and that's all we can do. I think that kind of my goal for the past 6 months has been just to show up. I'm not, I would love to be like Matt from Hey Tony, who put us in touch and post. I looked the other day, I was comparing our analytics. He posts 17 times a week on average. That's a level of dedication that I just do not have. And like, I would love to get there. And I hope
Yeah,
one day that everything's running so smoothly in ops and we get this program off the ground and I'm able to do it. I love what he does and he's able to provide so much value for people for free. And like, I love that aspect of social
yeah,
media, but I'm like, if I can hit 3 times a week, I'm happy. And like we talked about how I was just moving before we had the call. It's like for 2 weeks, I didn't get anything up. And, I would have loved to be filming while I'm on the road and have, but it wasn't possible. And you just got to accept that, what I'm doing right now, up until August, I had never posted a single video on Instagram. So averaging like 2 to 3 a week is still better. It's not exactly where I want to be, but it's decent.
yeah. It's that's great, and it takes a lot of effort, and then getting into it, like when it gets into a routine, then it's probably easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I talked to Matt and Jake as well, the wizard.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Jake's yeah, like I don't know him well. I met him. I FaceTime Matt and he was there one time.
Yeah, yeah.
They were at
But
VCon, but
yeah, I asked them about their process, and they don't plan anything to just pick up the phone,
yeah.
and I'm not there yet. That's just my honest reaction to what their process is. But yeah, when you get into a routine, it's probably much easier.
Yeah, I think some people too, it might come more naturally to I'm a little bit introverted. I'm good if I'm having a conversation with someone, that's very natural to me. But to be able to be the only person talking, I'm like an introverted perfectionist. So it's really hard for me. I'm working with a social media person to help me get the content out and
Yeah,
find it. And he's trying to tell me, like I had my setup at my old place, but now I moved and I don't really have any setup. I'm in an empty room basically. But he was like, it would be better if you just had these videos that aren't perfect and you're like walking and talking and like it's not so scripted because you can tell that you're thinking so much about what you said. And like, yeah, like I want it to be well thought out and professional. And I'm trying the new format right now of just caring a little bit less about the quality and walking and talking. But yeah, it's the type of individual I am. It does not come very naturally to me. And Matt was made to be a social media person. Like he's always just been really funny, really
yeah.
entertaining. I've known him since we were like 17, 18. Funny story. So we actually met because we played in bands and we were both the marketing nerds in our band. And so we grew up in the same hometown and we had a show together and both of us made a flyer for it. And so he had emailed me and was like, "Hey, I made a flyer." I was like, "Well, I already made one." Anyway, and we quickly realized like we were the guys in the band that loved marketing. So it's funny. We both launched it. We both moved different cities. I moved to a different country. We didn't talk for probably a decade. And then, he saw that I had started a business on Facebook and reached out and been connected and talking every day ever since.
That's so funny. That's
Yeah.
cool. In terms of the outreach you're doing, it's if you go for this PPC angle is it's the headline should be pretty simple in terms of like, we 40% decrease your PPC budget within X amount of time.
Yeah.
Then I think the open and reply rate would be very high, because I don't know any business owners that are looking to not spend any more money.
Yeah, right.
That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I hope that we're able to do it. Like I said, it's been tested once. I'm hoping we can test it out a few more times here with and just see how it goes with some existing clients. And yeah.
We've done some outreach on email. We're currently running LinkedIn outreach.
Okay.
Our emails have not been doing so great. LinkedIn has not been doing great up until this year. So we've tried different providers, service providers, agencies, outreach experts. But yeah, we finally found someone this year that actually said what they were gonna do. Did what they said they were gonna do. Yeah, because we've been promised a lot of things and kind of no meetings booked.
And that is my concern. The guy that I finally ended up going with, or well, I guess it's a company, but their offer is almost too good to be true. I'll put you in touch if it works. But they had 40 video testimonials on their site, and I contacted a bunch of the people on LinkedIn, and like they were all like, I looked up their business, like everything checks out. So I'm really hoping it's gonna work. And it was actually fairly affordable. So yeah, I'll tell you more about it if it works. But I don't want to give away the secrets on the podcast just yet. Everybody contacting him, he's going to charge me double.
What's the hardest part of running a marketing agency?
That's a good question. There's so many challenges and like so many things that I love about it. I think the hardest part for me in particular, at least my big challenge this year, is I had to let my first employee go.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult for me. And like, I think that's kind of the dark side of being a business owner. There's all of the fun things and, you get to be your own boss, but with that is a lot of responsibility. And one of the responsibilities is to make sure that you're getting the best results for your clients. And I had an employee who was not dedicated to that goal, the same way that, at least not to the expectation that I hold everyone to. And so I had to let him go. And I think for me, that was really hard. Like I knew his wife was laid off at the time. And I was like, I let it go for 4 months. And at some point I had to be like, this is not a problem for me to solve. And it's also not something it's actually malicious if I know that he's not doing the job that I expect him to do. I was consistently having to like micromanage his work because things were going sideways. And I obviously didn't want to do that. It's extra work. And like, it made me, I was always coming down on him. Like, that's not great. And then the clients aren't getting the result. And so I had to let him go. And I think for me, like learning to manage people and try and like flex that skill and develop someone when it's not going good was a challenge. And so for me, that's probably the hardest part. The other hardest part I'd say that, everyone will face is acquiring leads. And I think that that's something that I realize I need to fix because, it's great to have, because if you don't figure out who your ideal client avatar is, like with the e-commerce clients, I think that that's very much the ideal situation for me. And we have systems and processes for that. But even for like realizing that everyone shouldn't be your client, I think is the big thing. And I'm finally at that point after 7 years. And, I've had this talk with Matt many times and he still goes broad and it works for him. But to truly drive value for these clients, I feel like I need to customize their strategy because a lot of them are different. Like the different businesses require something different. It's like for a coffee shop, for example, like I just won't do SEO for them anymore because I realize the amount of work that it requires, like no one's reading a blog to go to a coffee, like, and then even if you rank first on Google, it's like, is it walking distance? And you're just going to choose the other one and then go, and they maybe make a net profit of 10 cents for that lead that you got to the, right? There's certain businesses and industries. So just finding your way through it, like what are, like really honing through what are you good at and where do you drive the most value for people? And then how do you reach those people? I think that's the biggest challenge. And we'll see if I solved it later this year.
Something that I'm going to pay attention and see if you follow up with you and see if you figure it out.
I'm curious, what do you think your biggest, what would you say your biggest challenge is?
It's probably the leads aspect as well. So we've also been broad I've been going 6 years now. So it took me almost as long as you to figure out it's time to do something kind of different. So for us, it's like finding good enough leads for us to actually do the work we want to do. Because in the last couple of years, we've ran ads to acquire leads, which has worked and it's been great. But the quality and size of leads are usually very small when you run it through Facebook ads, for example. So for us to kind of upscale like 5 to 10x our fees because we are actually good at what we do and want to work with clients that we want to work with, it's very hard to find those clients, especially when we set a minimum bar of revenue and ad spend, both because we are going to help them with ads and we need them to actually have a track record for revenue. So finding those leads and like just getting in the room with them is a hard job. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you mind if I ask, what are your minimum thresholds for that?
So now we're looking at a minimum of 2 or thinking different currencies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now we're looking
difficult.
at a minimum of like $20,000 to $30,000 a month in ad spend.
Okay.
And then we should be looking at a minimum of 75, 80K in revenue. That's like minimum. We're still doing service-based and econ, just because we definitely can help those service-based businesses in that specific ad spend range because they have some restrictions. And
that's something I'm kind of toying with right now and that's why I'm like, I was like, I don't want to say that I'm not doing local on the podcast anymore. I think trying to figure out like the ones where I've been able, long-term clients where I have driven success. And my ads guy actually brought this up that I just started working with a few months ago. And he was like, if it's multi-location,
yeah,
it makes a world of difference because we know that they've figured out already their operations. They're not a single shop. So they have that part figured out. They're usually going to have more revenue. So the ad spend also, like all of those things make sense. The investment in SEO is funding multiple locations, not just one, all of those things. So I think maybe just fine tuning. I haven't had a lot of local clients that are multi-location. And I think that that's like a deeper consideration. It does, though, it muddies the water for me a bit with our processes. We need 2 different people that do 2.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm still not sure about it, but it is a consideration and I see why you would stick with it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're...
Yeah, but for us, like my thinking in it is it's not like we spend all of our week on calls with clients or leads. So I'd rather have a couple of more calls and figure out their business and look at their margins and like, especially when it comes to like service-based businesses, how much bandwidth do you actually have and what's your margins on each delivery? Because if the margins are high and they have more bandwidth, then we can definitely work with them. If their bandwidth is small and but they still have high margins, there are some things we can do, like we could take their email marketing. It's just we don't have to take their ads because there's no need to push even more. But yeah, if it's service, low margins and low bandwidth, it's yeah. hands off. Someone else can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome.
Um, so we're nearing the end. So we're gonna get into some general tips for business owners and entrepreneurs. What's what's your like best advice to new founders and entrepreneurs?
SEO specific or just general?
General, because you've run a business for 7 years. I imagine there are some lessons along the way.
For sure. I think you're gonna fail at things and don't let that bother you. Like you have to shift your mindset. And I think I was really fortunate when I was able to start the business because we moved and I wasn't able to work. So we figured out how to live on one income, right? This is not a thing that most people, it is not lost on me how fortunate I was to have this as my starting point. But what I found was I was much less afraid to fail because everything wasn't dependent on it working this month. And you really do have to look at, like, I have bad months all of the time, and you can't let one bad month, everything that is happening to you is happening for you. And I know that that sounds a little like, but it is. It's very true. You need to take everything that happens to you and it feels like a negative, and you need to flip it and learn from it. Like when I started losing local SEO clients, I could have just panicked. But I sat there and I was like, why is this happening? And I realized very quickly what was happening. And then I looked at all the people that have been long-term clients, and they're all e-commerce clients. And I like, that's because we're driving way more value. And like, you can figure out from there a solution. Like the problem is actually the solution. And so I think looking at the challenges and times where you quote unquote failed, those are just challenges that are presenting learning opportunities to you. And if you frame it as something that's negative without trying to learn something from it, you're I don't think you're cut out to have a
Yeah.
business because you're going to feel bad inside all of the time. And you know, it is very easy to get bogged down. Like you, burnout is also a very real thing. Let that be tip number two. If I can include two tips, is just because you can work all of the time does not mean you should work all of the time, because your brain stops working at its optimal efficiency level and you start making bad decisions because you're overtired and burnt out. So that is lesson number two. You will do it. You will do it, but you need to rein it back in. And yeah, those are my tips.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like the bad months, especially in agency world, it's they're coming. There are so many, and we're going through a couple of them right now. Lost a couple of clients, and we're also launching the new agency, so focus is split as well. Um, and then some clients are in pain, which is always fun.
I have a
Um,
I have a very large unpaid bill from one client right now as well. So
Yeah. So those times are near and dear, of course. But yeah, we're just gonna pull through and get on the other side.
yeah, and you have months where like there's months where I was like, I can't believe my business is going this well. It was
Yeah.
running smooth, everything was going great, making more money than I ever imagined possible running a business. And it just, you have, it comes in waves. There's going to be successes. And I guess another tip is when you're in those successful times, the first time that happened, I was like, oh, this is great. I'll spend more money on this. Like, it wasn't even like personal stuff. It was really on the business, but I didn't save an emergency fund, right? I like, and I'm so good with my personal finances. Any of my personal money, I'm still filtering a certain percentage to an emergency fund, but I wasn't doing that for the business. It's like, you definitely need to be doing that for the business, especially it was like it was early on. I had just
Yeah.
hired my first employee. And so you realize when you have to pay other people, all of a sudden, like it's way different than being a freelancer, and you need to
Yeah.
make sure you have that flow because there are months where you just need to pay payroll, and that's like kind of what you're making for the month.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, that's funny. It's a lesson I think many people have to go through, and we've had a couple of guests talk about it before as well. Kind of the shift when you actually hire someone, and now you're actually responsible for this person's income and housing and food on the table as well. It's like, okay, this got way more serious very quickly.
absolutely. Yeah. It's, it is very serious. Like people are relying on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a it's really cool to be able to employ people. But it is also a responsibility that I don't take lightly. So
Yeah, I had one guest on the podcast saying he kept 6 month payroll in the bank account for the business at any given time.
yeah, that is like a very wise thing to do if you can get there.
Yeah,
I'm not
if you can get there, definitely.
I'm not there yet, but it is really important. And like that's a cool lesson too, is like, you know, I think there was one point where, like we lost clients and we weren't making money. And like doubling down on your employees to invest in them instead of letting them go. And I know Matt did the same thing actually. Because it was right when AI came out. Everyone was like, "Oh, search engine optimization won't even exist. All of this is for nothing," and we all lost like 30% of our clients in a month. So it was really crazy. And what was like, it was, yeah, either way, it was a lot that got lost in a month, but we both just kind of like take a deep breath. People are just panicking. Let's invest in our people. We'll take the time to reevaluate like our processes, right? Fine tune SOPs, and like within 3 months we bounce back. And that's when we hit the gold rush of realizing we could just use AI to do a bunch of things and like, so, it's just roller
Peaks and
coasters.
valleys.
Yeah.
The last question we have on the podcast is the same for every guest. What is the beauty of business to you?
Like, I guess the ability to create something in my mind and be able to execute it to its fullest. And so I mentioned earlier, I'm a musician too, and that was always what drew me to music is I can have an idea in my head, I can make it into a song, and I still do that. Like, that's my pastime is I'll make beats on Ableton, and I love crafting an entire song from an idea that's in my head. And with a business, you have the opportunity to do the same thing. And I actually think that's one thing I've really enjoyed the past couple months is I'm actually focusing on my own business. I had this idea at the beginning. I started doing it and then I just forgot to think about it and have been doing it for other people and thinking about their businesses, which I also love. But really taking a step back and looking at my own business again and starting to shuffle around the parts and restack things in different ways. And just seeing, it's fluid. You learn over time. And I think that that's the coolest thing about it is it's yours. I never dealt well with the lack of working at a bank. You can imagine it's very archaic.
Yeah,
I was
it's
not
not a
rewarded for,
creative.
I was not rewarded for any outside of the box thinking. They were like, nope, just give them the mortgage for the rate that and
Yeah.
sign the papers and do the things. And so yeah, just like I'm always grateful every day that I have the opportunity to do this and kind of do things my own way. And whether I succeed or fail, it's my doing. So.
Where can people find you and who should reach out?
DiffuseDigitalMarketing.com is the website. The Instagram handle is diffuse_digital. And yeah, I mean, if you want to reach out, emails, honestly, contact form or email or Instagram, any of those ways you want to reach out. If you're an e-commerce brand looking to, have somebody who's focused on actually getting results rather than getting you just clicks through the door. We're focused on getting sales, getting conversions, and helping you scale your brand. So
Awesome. It was great speaking to you. Thank you for coming.
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great.